My mother's name was Ramona Susan Lovelady, but she always went by Susan. She was born March the 17th, 1942 at the Fairmont Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri. My mom was born in a home for unwed mothers. She was born at the Fairmont, and my grandparents that I knew raised her. Of course, there was a lot of secrecy about, what had happened. My grandmother was a really sweet lady, and she had been a nurse here in Amarillo and could never have children. She had a sister who had 7 children. And so she loved big families. And anyway, so she and my grandfather pursued adoption. They wanted to match them up with somebody who looked like them. So but I thought that was kind of hysterical too. They wanted to know if they wanted a boy or a girl, if they wanted blue eyes, brown eyes, whatever. They just wanted a baby. So on March the 28th of 1942, they received a telegram that said, from Fairmont, this is have lovely little girl. Wire me when to expect you, Fairmont Hospital. And at this point, my mom was already 11 days old. My grandmother rode the train by herself to Kansas City, picked up a little girl and brought her back here to Amarillo. Over the time, my mother never wanted to know about her heritage, and she developed a knot on her neck when she was 39, and came out that it was colon cancer, and she had metastatic colon cancer that was well advanced. She fought for 3 years. So then too, trying to figure out, what happened and who her family was and such. So I did an ancestry DNA test back several years ago, and it was really odd because I have a dad who knows his family and I have a mom, but the only people that showed up related to me were all from my mother's side who I'd never met. So they were all a bunch of total strangers. So then the first match, I started looking through his records that he had opened and kept seeing colon cancer, or died, in the earlier than 40s. And so I reached out to that gentleman, and he knew that, yeah, his family was actually from Western Kentucky, and their family lines had interbred and had unfortunately caused this familial adenomatous polyposis to just explode. And my mom is related to that group of people from Western Kentucky. My mother's biological mother was a 27-year-old sales clerk at a department store in Kansas City, Missouri, and that her biological father was 42 years old. So quite a big age gap there. And he was a married man. Of course, they didn't identify that there. They just were saying that he was in good health, but come to find out, yeah, he was married, and he and his wife never had any children. For me too, it was always really, I loved my mother, I hope I don't cry here, but my mother was just fun. And anyway, I just always thought, well, how could somebody take this sweet little baby and just decide that she wasn't worth keeping? I found that book called The Girls Who Went Away, but that really opened my eyes to realize, oh, they didn't get a choice back then. They were just put into these homes, and that book said this, and then I'd heard this from other people, that Kansas City was a real hub for all the railroads. And so, they would send their girls away and put them on the train, and they, would go usually in their latter part of their pregnancy, and they would live there for several months.